Welcome to yet another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 452. I am your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Daniel from Four Boxing News and the Inscriber. What's going on, Daniel?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Hopefully, everybody had a good 4th of July weekend.
Indeed. Unfortunately, our usual compatriot, um, um, the fiery redhead herself, Gail from nyfights.com will not be with us this evening. Hopefully, we'll have her back next week. For those who are new to pound for pound, box report, pound for pound, box report, live YouTube show, podcast, blog, site, etc. Talking all things boxing. The model is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, it will get discussed. If you want to find out any and all information, Pound for Pound Box Report, please check out the site, p4pboxingreport.com. If you wish to email us questions, comments, you can do so, p4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you'll find where to find Pound for Pound Box Report all over social media, links to the YouTube channel, links to the Facebook, Tumblr, IG page, also links to where to catch the show on various podcast platforms, be it Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you should be able to find Pound for Pound Boxing Report. If you would like to donate, wouldn't matter to us, it's $1, $2, $5, whatever you wish. Got Cash Me, PayPal donation links for my fellow fitness enthusiasts. Please check out the link to Body, BODI, formerly known as Beachbody On Demand. Body has various programs for any and all fitness interests and goals. If you're looking for a boxing specific program, please check out 10 Rounds. That is a 6-week program, 3 weeks of boxing based cardio, 3 days, of boxing based cardio, 2 days of weightlifting resistance work. At the very least, take advantage of the free 14-day trial that they offer on Body, and that is for 14 days. You get free access to any and all programs on Body, including the sample program, the sample workouts of new programs that's coming later on this year. Let's get things going, Daniel, by taking a look back on what went down in terms of what was a pretty action-packed and controversial weekend. Let's start with the return of Shakur Stevenson. Um, Coming off of the fight with De Los Santos, where he did not look great, received a lot of criticism. Unfortunately for Shakur, that is going to continue in the aftermath of Stevenson's 12-round win over Artem Harutyunyan, taking place in Stevenson's hometown of Newark, New Jersey. He got the win. He won basically every round, but many fans, particularly on social media, were left unimpressed, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Stevenson talked a whole lot of stuff about, oh, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. He's going to be impressive. He was impressive from a boxing perspective, but the beating and the stoppage that he promised did not come to pass as he went the distance. That has left him receiving the scorn of folks who like a lot of action, um, who like their share of violence. Um, and Stevenson has been all over Twitter, especially clapping back at folks and whatnot. And has not just been in the boxing space. If you're familiar with Mace and Cameron and their podcast, those gentlemen and Stevenson has had this year of back and forth as well. Your reaction to the fight, your reaction to the backlash towards Stevenson, Daniel, and is Shakur, given that this is his last fight with Top Rank, and there's rumors running all over the place that he could sign with Matchroom, he could sign with Mayweather Promotions. Is Shakur wasting too much energy trying to shoot back at the skeptics?
It's part of this unfortunate the social media age where you feel like you do have to fight back against people making statements about you that you feel aren't true. But in the case of Shakur, a lot of the criticism is warranted because there were at least, I think, 2 or 3 instances in this fight where he could have finished the job. I think particularly like in the 8th or 9th round, there were chances for him to get that spectacular knockout that he was promising, and he just stopped and got back the crew into the cruising style, unfortunately, that he's been accustomed to. And it wasn't a situation where it was a sloppy fight. There's a difference between like a sloppy fight and then just what people would deem a boring fight. It was boring in the sense that you could tell who was going to win, but you could tell that Shakur could have taken his opponent out if he wanted to. The issue is that it kind of looks like he didn't want to. He wanted to write it out. And unfortunately, that's not good in the last fight of your contract. It is essentially the equivalent, I mentioned on Twitter. It was the equivalent of normally a contract year in team sports. In team sports, football, basketball, in the contract year, you see players try their best, like to try to get their numbers up and their accolades as high as possible because that'll help them land a big contract in the next offseason. This fight was supposed to be that for Shakur. And unfortunately, he, as far as like trying to get like a highlight reel, vicious knockout like that you see on SportsCenter, he didn't produce that. He fought well. He showed off his skills, but it just wasn't, unfortunately, aesthetic pleasing for the casual fans. And you can even tell that ESPN was leaning into that too, because they were very, very prominently showing fans leaving the arena. I think between the 10th, 11th round and the 11th and 12th round. And in one way, you feel bad for him. On the other end, he is one of the best fighters in the world, and he hasn't burned enough bridges where he can say like he don't want to see him fight again, because there are people, and myself included, that would love to see him fight Tank, because he'll still box circles about Tank.
I agree, right? In a matchup between the two, I believe Shakur outboxes Tank Davis all day long. But this sport, particularly nowadays, is often about narrative, right? And perception. And the fact is that because Tank knocks guys out, never mind he's usually behind on the scorecards or being outboxed before getting knocked out, he gets a lot more attention, a lot more love, a lot more money. While Shakur does what he does, at times plays it close to the vest, at times safety first. He gets the reputation of being boring and not exciting, and as a result, he doesn't get the fights that he wants. He doesn't get the spotlight uh, and the attention and the money that he wants. While Tank Davis, in the minds of many, is called the new face of the sport, right? And in the estimation of some on TV, they want to put him up top 3 pound for pound fighter when he hasn't done anything to warrant that. Um, After the fight, news has broke that Stevenson turned down I think it's a 5-year, either 5-year or 5 fight, but the total amount was $15 million deal to re-sign with Top Rank. He's going to be at Boots Ennis upcoming fight this weekend in Philadelphia against David Avanesyan.
Mm-hmm.
Matchroom DAZN promoted event. Uh, there's been rumors swirling around that Stevenson um, is on the verge of signing with Matchroom with Eddie. Should he do that? Should he sign with Hearn? Um, what do you think that Hearn could do for him to kind of uh, change the narrative and try to reverse what has become the souring reputation of Shakur?
One thing that can happen, and you could see it in the way that Matchroom marketed Devin Haney when, like I said, they had a good working relationship, is that they'll focus on the strengths for Shakur and probably put him in markets where he'll do fairly well and his style will do fairly well, and probably even take him like a little bit of a UK tour too. That's the main thing that you can do, because it was obvious that going back to North, going back to hometown is not the plan. It's not the look for Shakur. Like normally with that arena, you expect like at least probably 10, 11,000. It was barely above 9,000 tickets sold. And like I mentioned, the last two rounds, they were leaving in droves. So there are things that Eddie can do to market him a little bit better and a different style of opponent. Now, what can happen, since he's now in that part with Matchroom and the Zone, is a certain gentleman with a seafaring nickname that we're going to talk about later may actually get his shot. And that is the type of fighter that where you can see Shakur try to show off his skills. Because it's going to be a fighter that's going to make him show off those skills.
And I'm guessing you're referring to the one William Zepeda, who also fought this past weekend. On the undercard of Stevenson's victory, listen, robbery is a word that often is overused in the sport, but it's perfectly apt for the fight between Oshaki Foster and Robson Conceicao. Foster making the defense of the WBC belt at 130 pounds. The overwhelmingly majority of those who was watching the fight that night and commented afterwards felt that Foster did more than enough to win. On my personal scorecard, I only gave Conceicao 2 rounds, but to the shock of many, Conceicao ended up getting a split decision. Now, afterwards on boxing social media, particularly Twitter, you had some who claimed that Foster was quote unquote running, claimed that he wasn't a quote unquote aggressive, claimed that the fight that Foster was lucky to get even the benefit of one judge's scorecards. I think those folks are being contrarian. I think those folks are being trolling. But to anyone with an astute boxing brain, you have to just only have to have a modicum of sense and of knowledge of the sport to know that Oshaki Foster won that fight. I don't give a damn what the judges says. I don't give a damn what anybody else says. It was wrong what they did to Shock Foster that evening. He clearly won.
Yeah. Now, part of me wanted to rationalize this because I was pretty pissed off when I saw the decision. I even said I was not going to be I tried to calm myself down because you have to remember also, Conceicao did get screwed over in a couple of decisions recently. So I kind of felt like, okay, is this a gimme for him? A mulligan for him because he kind of got screwed on his other fights? But that shouldn't be how the sport works. Not when a situation happens where, yeah, Conceicao threw shots but few were landing. Most were landing on the guard or on the arms. And yeah, Foster wasn't coming forward. He wasn't trying to bludgeon him with blows, but he was hitting effectively. He maintained his distance well. And in a clear difference probably from Shakur. He got inside when he really needed to and hit the shots that he needed to, particularly uppercuts. And the fact that two of those judges gave 7 rounds to Conceicao is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling to see. There's there is a case to be made that aggression should always play a factor into how a fight is judged. But it has to be effective aggression. It has to be an aggression where the opponent has to adjust and you're not throwing punches for the sake of throwing punches, especially when few, if any, are landing. That's the difference. Because a lot of the great wars that we've seen, like we started watching another one this week, the Israel Vasquez Marquez trilogy. They were throwing haymakers, but they were throwing haymakers effectively while boxing. And they were not wasting the punches in the area, not just throwing for the sake of throwing. Conceicao for a lot of fight was throwing for the sake of throwing. And it really didn't look good. And you can't say Foster, people say, you can't say Foster's a purely a boring fighter. When we've seen him this last 2 fights before this one, he's shown that he has a flair for the dramatic when it comes to winning fights. But I forgot the names of the judges, but I do know this is in New Jersey.
I don't care.
No, this is the reason why I say this. New Jersey does have a precedent of suspending judges for bullshit decisions. That should be happening now.
True. You're right. You're right. Thanks for clarifying and kind of correcting me at the same time. We should care because there should be an investigation in the aftermath of all of this. The WBC, Suleiman said that the ratings committee is going to take a look at the fight, going to review the fight and review the judges. That's all and good, but that's not enough for me. The question is, Daniel, I doubt they're going to reverse anything and make this like a no contest or anything like that. The question for me is, will they grant Foster an immediate rematch? All things being fair, given the controversial nature, given how folks are outraged and raising holy hell about this, they should. But in the end, will they?
If I'm correct, if I'm correctly assuming Conceicao and Foster are still both under top rank contract.
I think Foster has one more fight. I don't know about Robson Conceicao. Yeah, I don't know about Robson Conceicao, who seems like to be a darling of top rank because look, he's lost multiple title fights. There's no incentive if you're thinking in a conspiratorial manner. There's no incentive to try to give him this fight like this, unless you believe, as I am, that he's one of the favorites of top rank. But other than that, but to your point, both of them are still signed. Foster has one more fight with top rank under his contract. In terms of Conceicao, I'm unsure.
Well, if we're going by the basis that both of them are under top rank, there's little to no roadblocks for them to make the rematch. unless, like you mentioned, they want to show blatant favoritism towards Conceicao. But they really can't a lot of it in this case because there's enough evidence, and also the fact that post-fight interview that they had a Shocky Foster do right after the fight, like that was painful to see.
Yeah.
Like that hurt my spirit. And when you have that sentiment, it helps you truly trying to gain the rematch. And there's also the matter of a fighter's pride. Conceicao, yeah, he's a champion right now, but people don't see him as one. It's him as a paper champion, a fake champion right now. And we know fighters, it doesn't matter if it's boxing or MMA, they're prideful bastards. And that's going to get probably on Conceicao's pride that, hey, I'm being called a fake champion. I didn't really beat this guy. Let's just do the rematch and see what happens. Because in his eyes, hey, if two judges saw that I won the fight, what's to stop two other judges from doing the same thing?
Yeah, let's hope he gets it. Foster is calling for it on Twitter. Top Rank, WBC, do the right thing and put these guys back in the ring against each other ASAP, because I can't stress this enough how unfair, in my opinion, that was to Shock. He clearly um, won that fight. More action that took place. Well, let me say this in terms of one more thing about that card. Keyshawn Davis and Abdullah Mason also fought on that same bill, right? Tell me why I am wrong to think that, as it stands right now, Abdullah Mason is a better prospect than Keyshawn.
You're not wrong in one sense, because it looks like Abdullah is progressing faster, but it also can be because they're not being as selective with opponents as it looks like they are with Keyshawn Davis. Because the level of opponents that Keyshawn Davis has been fighting, he should have stopped fighting those guys a year or two ago. In fact, I'll make the case that maybe he should have been opposite winning Zepeda corner today instead of Cabrera. He's done enough where he says that he's the dog in that division. Well, you have to fight contenders in order to do that. But that's on the management. That's on Top Rank. They're the ones that have to position Keyshawn Davis to fight better opponents so he doesn't stagnate and you don't have another Edgar Berlanga situation happening for you where you just reach a certain threshold of opponent, he doesn't improve, and then you actually see him regress. You don't want that to happen again with Top Rank, especially with a guy that you've touted as much as you've touted Keyshawn Davis.
Yeah, at this point, I have no pushback. I agree with you on that. On that last part, 100%. More action, more fights to talk about. You kind of teased at this guy, Daniel Williams Zepeda, top ranked lightweight, golden boy guy, fought Giovanni Cabrera, did what he was supposed to do, what you're supposed to do to an inferior opponent. Let's take him out, and he did so early. In the aftermath, a lot of people are talking about Zepeda as a potential opponent for Shakur. Golden Boy seems to want to steer him in the direction of Baranchik, who's a WBO champion, right? If you were De La Hoya, Hopkins, Golden Boy Promotions, what direction do you take Zepeda, who, based on what we've seen from him recent fights, he's ready for a title shot, and he would be highly competitive against any champion at 135 pounds.
Yeah, and especially in the way that he won in this fight. Yeah, it was a short fight, and they were the body shot, but you had to give Cabrera credit. He did give Zepeda a good amount of work that he needed to do in the first 2 rounds. Like he boxed him effectively, he tried to hold him, but not overly hold him, and try to frustrate Zepeda into not implementing his game plan, to not getting his motor running. Unfortunately, in the third round, the motor got running fairly well. And we saw Zepeda finish it with a body shot that you could tell that it wasn't a situation there where like the body wasn't responding. Cabrera, like he just didn't want anymore at that point. If I'm Golden Boy, I'm actually waiting to see where Shakur lands. As I said, if the rumors are true, and if he does land with Matchroom, that's an easier conversation to have with him. If he winds up signing with Mayweather Promotions, that almost becomes an impossibility. Not because Oscar and Floyd don't like each other. It's not that. It's who the head now is, the new president of Mayweather Promotions. One Mr. Richard Schaefer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really doubt that Oscar really wants to be across the table from a man that essentially stabbed him in the front and in the back. So that's going to depend. So sending Zepeda the WBO route makes a bit of sense. He's ready. He's been ready for a shot. And if he gets it and he gets a couple of belts, then you force Shakur into the conversation. Because if Shakur wants to unify, if he wants to actually get the accolades and not be using just Twitter fingers all day, a fight with Zepeda will do it. But it just depends on who he goes to. Like if it's Matchroom, it's a little bit easier to make.
Because of the outrage that people had over Shakur after his fight, and the outrage and the equal outrage of Foster and Conceicao, a fight that was kind of went under that, not kind of, a fight that went under the radar, didn't get talked about much. Was the junior bantamweight unification bout took place in Tokyo between WBA champion Kazuto Ioka, IBF champion Fernando Martinez, and the surprise to me, Martinez ending up getting the win, including scoring a shutout on one of the Georgia scorecards. Ioka getting shut out in his home country in Japan. Unbelievable, right? Martinez landed with power, took the fight to Ioka early. Ioka made his adjustments, started fighting on the front foot, had Martinez backing up. But here's the thing. Martinez kept his cool, did a very good job of counterpunching. And even when Ioka started to force the play, he couldn't put a dent in Martinez, while Martinez was the harder hitter. He looked to be the physically bigger fighter, much physically bigger fighter. I don't think it was a complete shutout on Martinez's part, but I did think he did enough to get the win. I don't count Foster and Conceicao as a surprise. I think of that as a robbery. The real surprise of the weekend, Martinez getting the win over Ioka, and with Bam Rodriguez in attendance at the fight, is it all but a guarantee that we could see a Martinez Bam Rodriguez fight by the end of the year?
It's a good possibility, especially after Bam's performance against Skye. But first things first, yeah, I'm throwing that 120, 108 card completely out the window. That's I'm sorry, Mr. Magoo could see that that fight wasn't 120, 108. But I love the fact that how Martinez fought. He landed his shots. He focused on the body. And one thing that he didn't do, which he could have easily done, considering Kazuto was also getting his shots in, especially in the middle rounds, he didn't go full into a phone booth fight with Kazuto. He hit him hard and he hit him effectively and kept himself in range, but just insist enough where Kazuto would have to actually come forward more than he's probably more than used to in order to assess the action. And that's probably what's the key difference to me in the fight. Martinez didn't really let it become a phone booth fight, which to me probably would have favored Kazuto with the body work. But he did it effectively. He landed his shots fairly well. And yep, he did it. He definitely did enough to win. There's no controversy here as to who won. The only thing I do feel bad really for Kazuto in the sense that this may actually be like the last real shot that he had to really jump on the international stage. Because like he's already made it in Japan. Like he's made his money, he's made his fame, but like I mentioned last week, I do feel that a lot of the accolades outside of Japan went past him and went straight to Inoue. And that's one part I feel bad. That's he's gonna be an underrated guy. Kazuto Ioka is gonna be seen as an underrated fighter, even though he deserves many of the accolades that he got, in fact, if not more. But this was probably his last shot to get jump into that stage because Ioka Bam at this stage, that would have been a firefight. Now, Bam versus Martinez, now that's going to be more of a boxing match. Both of them are good. Both of them have been doing the Birdman hand rub.
Bam stops him.
But that's the key. I think he'll probably stop either one. It's just in the manner of how he does it. That's going to be
Bam stops him. As good as Martinez looked in that fight, the problem is, and the thing that I noticed, he doesn't like body shots. If I saw that watching it up basically 7 in the morning, covering the fight for threekingsboxing.com, imagine what Bam saw sitting ringside. And plus, Bam has at this point the quicker hands and feet than Ioka, so he can get to the mark faster and can get out the way. And he seems to be the harder hitter. Bam stops him. In terms of Kazuto Ioka, look, he's a 4-division champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, right? But he is 35 years old. He's been fighting for a long, long time at world level for 15 years plus, I think, at this point. You only got so many fights in you. And if you read his comments on IG afterwards, deeply disappointed, and you have to wonder if this was his last fight. If it was, kudos to him. He's had a great career. If he wants to go on for one more, I'm not going to blame him that either. But at the very least, you have to wonder at this point, has he lost a bit? That he's not the fighter that he once was, and I'll just leave it at that. In terms of Martinez, again, the fact that Bam was there, the fact that Bam said leading up that he wanted the winner of this fight. Eddie Hearn, he's a prize fighter in the matchroom stable. I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Hearn tries to make this fight between Bam and Martinez by the end of this year. Let's move on to some news here. And there's only one topic we're going to touch in one name specifically, and that is one Ryan Garcia, who you talk about making a whole lot of noise in the most negative of manner. That was him. Um, of course, unless you've been sleeping under the rock, um, suspended by the banned by the WBC for, let's just go off and say it, vile racist comments in a Twitter thread. I got so much to say about this. As a result, I'm gonna let Daniel get his rocks off and say what he wants to say about Garcia, what he said, the reaction uh, by the BC, and maybe it's the reaction of the boxing community, because I have a whole lot to say about that.
I think for the past 2 or 3 weeks, I have been asking people and people that have been panelists on this show if they should worry about the fact that when it comes to Ryan Garcia, maybe the pros are now being outweighed by the cons in the way that he behaves. 2 weeks ago, I could see the argument for people saying no. He makes too much money. His base is too large. Saudi Arabia will probably throw all the blood money that they can at him for like a marquee fight. But that was 2 weeks ago. I think we crossed the Rubicon as far as the pros now being outweighed by the cons when it comes to Ryan Garcia. Because the bullshit that came out of the first, I'm going to address the mental health first, because his parents had to come out saying he's been suffering due to mental health. This ain't mental health. This ain't the point of now being mental health. Now you can cut that bullshit off. But the amount of bullshit that came out of this dumb motherfucker's mouth, not only being racist towards black people, which, by the way, yeah, that's already a big enough issue within the Latino community, within the Mexican American community in California. It's already bad enough issue there. Then you go on the religious route. Also throwing hate against Muslims in that same Twitter, in that same space, I think. I get somebody trying to reach into a demographic that you feel that you can exploit, and let's face it, right-wingers are gullible dumbasses when it comes to how easily they can grifters can take money away from them. But to do it in the manner that Ryan Garcia did, and look, this is not the only thing that happened this weekend. He apparently went to the fight to try to go to the Golden Boy card.
Not apparently to it, he did. Please check
That's
out
what I
Three
say.
Kings Box. Please check out Three Kings Boxing, the Facebook page, where we got exclusive video of him getting kicked out at a fight this weekend.
Yeah, because he's got it into it with fans, and he had to get hauled off by security. That's the part where I said, yeah, the cons outweigh the pros at this point. And I know we make fun of the sanctioning bodies a lot. I know we do. But you have to really, really fuck up for Mauricio to come out the way he did against Ryan Garcia. And I don't think it's a situation where Garcia's going to make one statement, make a fun, and then go and then leave. And then all is forgiven. You can't do that at this stage. It's become a situation where if it's really, truly all mental health issues, then he needs help. He needs to get out of the limelight, his phone taken away, his IG, Twitter accounts taken away, and focus on getting better. That's if it's all mental health. I don't think it's all there. I think he probably halfway believes the crap that came out of his mouth. And like I said, the issue, unfortunately, with anti-black racism in the Latino community, it's already a big enough issue in California, let alone the rest of the country. Like I said, we've said it for years. There is a level of anti-blackness in the Latino community. So they came out so, unfortunately, so plainly for all to see. It pissed me off to, like I said, pissed me off to no end. And quite frankly, especially not when he decided to bash Muslims too, I think he cut off the blood money too. On all honesty, I said it 2 weeks ago. I'm going to say it now. I think Oscar should cut ties now at this point. It should be at a point where, yeah, it should just cut ties. And then he's got to make a decision, because now your parents, like the people that you think would be in your back, no, they said like, no, this is not okay. This is not who he is. But you got to prove it at this point, because at this point, I believe the crap that comes out of his mouth when it comes to the bigoted shit that came out of it.
How can I address this? One, the last point about Golden Boy, they should, but they won't. In their official statement, is pathetic. It's pathetic, and it's a bunch of bull. It's BS. He needs help, and we're going to be there for him. No, Golden Boy, no, Oscar, and especially you, Bernard B. Hop. What are you doing? How come you hadn't said anything, brother? You should have been the first person from the Golden Boy camp to admonish Ryan about this. They need to give him the boot ASAP, right? Two, I, as a black person, am sick and tired whenever this kind of language and diatribe is directed at towards people like me. It's all of a sudden shoved off and excused and put under the banner of folks being mentally ill. No. That's not it. When it comes to Garcia, he is who I thought he was. He is who he has been. Let's keep it a complete buck. This dude, he's been given a pass, largely because of his popularity, largely because of the win over Haney, who a lot of people in boxing community don't like, right? He's been given a pass because of that. Well, all the while, before the Haney fight, and especially from April 21 on, has been mainly spouting alt-right, QAnon, conspiracy theories, and racial tropes / dog whistling. And finally, it took this for folks to catch on to it. My question is, what took y'all so long? Have y'all been listening to this cat on Twitter Spaces? Have you been listening to the cat on IG Live? Right? He should have been canceled well before this. And yes, I'm using that word canceled. I know that's going to be a buzzword to some of y'all, but damn it, it fits. Because this nonsense is enough, right? And I don't know what's worse, and I'm gonna say this: what the fact that he said it, or the fact that people are excusing him, including some folks in the boxing community who look like me. I'm gonna say it, including the folks in the boxing community that look like me. But I'm not surprised, because To Daniel's point about anti-blackness being universal, the same folks who just want to pass this nonsense off from Ryan Garcia, y'all the same folks who've been passing off similar rhetoric and language from both Teofimo and Edgar Berlanga. It's not a surprise that pics showed up this past weekend of Teofimo and Ryan Garcia basically having dude bro moments because both have had a liking to refer to folk like me as the N word. One bid with the soft A, one bid with soft A and hard ER. Uh, the same folks who gave Paulie Malignaggi a pass for his comments about George Floyd. Let me put it this way: the same folks who are saying whatever and brushing the shoulder off at Garcia, saying that he wants George Floyd to come back so he can kill him and he hates N words. Y'all the same folks who didn't say shit when Paulie Malignaggi and Steve Kim, because I'm gonna call him out too. His comments were trifling and sad. When Malignaggi basically tried to victim blame George Floyd and basically say he caused his own demise, all the while Steve Kim was in the background laughing. This is nonsense. Garcia, he needs to go away, stay away for a good while. This nonsense. Oh, I'm gonna go to rehab and I'm not only to change his mind. No, again, he is who I thought he was. He is who he is. And last note, I'm amused by the comments of his parents and talking about how condemning him. Who do you think that Garcia probably got that from? I hadn't forgot that when doing the press events for Haney and Garcia, when Garcia's dad got ticked off at Bill Haney and started calling him nappy headed so and so and so and so. This kind of stuff is passed down. So yeah, Garcia, he got to go. It's about time. While y'all were late on it, it's about time that he gets called out for this stuff. I'm done with him. I'm done with him. He has to deconstruct and reconstruct his life from feet up, from the bottom up. It'll be a long time until I give him pay him mind because this is bullshit. What he said was bullshit and racist. Some of the silence of the boxing community, from the silence of some black folks, fans and fighters included, y'all hadn't said anything, spoken out against this dude. The way he's been given a pass for nonsense for months now. I'm done. I'm gonna leave this alone. I'm gonna give you the final word because I can go on for the next hour about this nonsense, Daniel.
At the end of the day, mental health can only be a shield for so much. At a certain point,
this is not mental health.
Yeah, at a certain point, people believe what they say. And it's been a long time advocate. I've been saying that when people tell you who they are, believe them. This is unfortunately the case with Ryan Garcia. And I quite frankly don't want to hear a fucking thing about him unless he shows
this is not mental
contrition.
health. I don't buy it when Michael Richards went on that racist rant responding to hecklers and said it was a mental issue. I don't buy it here with Garcia. No. I'm sick and tired of folks talking this way about folks like me and then want to pass it off as mental health. Fuck that.
Pretty much, yeah. Like there's certain time and place to use that when it shows to be the case, but yeah, this ain't it no more. No, you can miss me with that bullshit.
Exactly, and I'm done with it. Because it's such a hot topic, it had to be addressed. But it's high time that not only the spotlight on Garcia, but the spotlight is on the entire boxing community because I see a whole lot of hypocrisy here. I see a whole lot of double standards, and it has to be addressed. in our small, excuse me, um, little way on our small little platform. Let's move on to some more positive stuff, and that is the fights that's upcoming this weekend. On the 12th, I believe, um, the return of future Hall of Famer, multiple division champion, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, fighting in his hometown of Nicaragua, fighting Yober Barrera, who I believe is a former world title challenger. Um, to me, Daniel, this is basically a homecoming fight for Chocolatito and kind of a send off who for Roman Gonzalez, who's basically don't have too many more fights left. You're on mute, Daniel. Daniel, you're on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry, my computer froze.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah, this is you can pretty much tell Chocolatito's on. He's already getting set up for the retirement road. This is probably the start, if not the end of it. And it's a well-deserved road. Like you cannot say that one Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, if he retires this year or next year, we won't see him in Castaneda by the end of the decade. And when it's a retirement tour, when you have that much of an active career, it's okay to have fights like this. Because some yeah, sometimes you can lose and be taken away on your back when passing on to the next line. That's probably what's going to happen with Gallo, even if he pulls a rematch with Bam. But it's a good send off. He's wanted to focus more. He's one of those guys that really likes to focus on his community in Nicaragua, and it's perfect. Like to me, it's perfectly fine. He's probably gonna get a good victory out of it. Now, I said, now this is selfishly, even though I live in New York. Selfishly, if he's doing a farewell tour, I want him to do a fight in Miami because Miami has, I think, either the largest or second largest at this stage Nicaraguan community in the U.S. So I would love to. I would like I said I would fly if he gets to fight in the AAA. Yeah, I'm calling it AAA. I'm not calling it the Casaya Center. That's American Airlines Arena to me, as far as I'm concerned. And go to the AAA and have Chocolatito there. Be cheered by a lot of community that want him to be there.
Again, that's going to be on the 12th, Managua, Nicaragua. I believe you can see that on ESPN Plus. On the 13th, in Vegas, the return of Janibek, Anakanuli, um, who fighting defending the unified belts against a fighter by the name of Mikhailovich. Janibek unified the belt in the last time out in what is a kind of mediocre 160-pound division. To me, he's the best middleweight in the world, and I think he's going to show that in this upcoming fight. I just don't see Mikhailovich going too many rounds with Mr. Kazakh style Alimkhanuly.
Yeah, Javonik is going to have a pretty easy fight in this one, and unfortunately, this year it's kind of it is kind of bad that he's going to be seen as a top middleweight in technically a weaker class. Yeah, we can say it, a weaker class than the class that Gennady Golovkin was fighting in his prime when he in Big Drama Show era. But it's good to, like I said, get the rounds in. I probably wouldn't be surprised if he sets up a fight in Kazakhstan later on this year after this, especially with Golovkin also being in charge of the Olympic Committee in Kazakhstan and being a big advocate of keeping boxing in the Olympic program. So it's good a fight to have. It's going to keep him active because you never want to be too inactive when it comes to a fight. We saw Gaia regret that a week ago. So
On the undercard, I think it's a pretty interesting fight. We talked about Keyshawn Davis and Abdullah Mason, comparing them in terms of prospect. Another lightweight junior welterweight prospect in the top ranked stable is Raymond Muratalla, who I believe is world ranked now. He returns to the ring to fight Tevin, former junior lightweight champion. Now, at his best, Farmer is a really good boxer with excellent defense. The problem is we hadn't seen much of him in the last 4 years, right? Ever since he um, lost the belt. Uh, you see more of him posting stuff on IG than you've seen of him um, in the ring. The question for me is, what does Former have left? If he has something left, if he's still the same fighter that we remember seeing during his world title days at 130 pounds, I think he could give Muratalla a decent fight. But Muratalla, excuse me, the bigger guy, the younger guy, um, on paper, Muratalla is the favorite. But again, if Farmer has anything, he could give Muratalla a decent scrap.
yeah, we have to remember that Tyler Farmer hasn't fought a good long while, like you mentioned it. Like I say, he's former champion, and we have to remember he was one of the boogeymen that Floyd kept away from Tank when in Tank's early career. Because when he was fighting Tank,
I think I lost Daniel here. He kind of went out on us. I think he was going to say, if you can still hear us, Daniel, please say something. What you was going, I think what he was going to say. When he was quote unquote at his best, um, he was really good. But ever since the Jojo Diaz fight, he's kind of been you kind of milk carton status, missing. And that where are you? Kind of missing. Um, the slickness, the southpaw style, the speed, and for me, the defense. How will Muratala deal with that? I think in the early rounds, he could have some issues getting to Farmer, but you just don't. But over time, um, I think that he could wear Farmer down and win a decision. If he can't cut the ring off on Farmer, he's in trouble. But if Farmer no longer has the legs, then Farmer's in trouble. Again, on paper, Moratala is the favorite, but I think that Tevin Farmer can give him again a pretty decent scrap if he has anything less left. So that, again, those two cards, Alan Canuli, as well as Farmer and Muratalla. That's going to be July 13th, Las Vegas on ESPN Plus. Also in Philadelphia on the 13th. The return of Jaron Boots Ennis, fighting David Avanesyan. Ennis fighting in his hometown of Philadelphia. Looks like Daniel's away, so um, hope he can get his hope he can his technical issues can be resolved and he can return. Ennis fighting David Avanesyan. Ennis, excuse me, defending the IBF belt at 147 pounds. To me, this is kind of a comparative fight. Um, Last time many people saw Avanesyan was against uh, Bud Crawford towards the end of 2022, December 2022. Avanesyan lost by 6 round stoppage to Bud. Ennis is thought to be the future of the welterweight division, especially since Crawford has moved up to 154 pounds. He's going to fight Madrimov in August. Um, Debut with Matchroom, expected to be a packed crowd in Philly. And I see, are you back, Daniel?
Yes, yeah. Sorry, my laptop froze, y'all.
No problem. We're talking Boots Ennis and his fight against Avanesyan. I was mentioning, I think to me, I want to compare this fight with Avanesyan's stoppage loss to Bud Crawford. If Boots is at his best, if he puts the talent on full display, I think he will flourish in this fight. I think he will shine. Debut might fight for Matchroom. He wants to put on a show. Uh, in all areas, he's better than Avanesyan. I think that the opportunity is there for Boots Ennis to really look sensational in front of his hometown fans of Philly.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun fight to me. And we have to remember, Abanesian is actually a short notice opponent because who was it? Collard. I keep forgetting his last name. Unfortunately, I mentioned he failed an eye test.
Crawley.
Yeah, he failed an eye exam, unfortunately. So Abanesi's coming in late. Like I said, coming in on short notice. That's always the type of opponent. A lot of times that you want to have a showcase fighter be against. But again, it also could be a dangerous opponent because you've been training for one specific thing for a long time, and then you have to switch it up immediately to a different style. But Boots has shown that he does have the skill, he does have the ring awareness, and he has the presence of mind to know when to strike so he can get the highlight reel knockout. And I think that's going to be the case here. He always fights well in front of his home fans. He knows he wants to make an impression with his new promoter, Matchroom, and ultimately try to make the claim that he is the top dog now, 147 with Bud gone, and maybe, I don't think it'll happen at this point, but maybe try to poke the bear at Bud to see if he'll come down for a fight.
On the undercard, Skye Nicolson making the first defense of the WBC women's featherweight title. She won the belt in her last outing against Sarah Mahfoud. Easy decision. You don't know much about Nicholson's opponent. Give me a quick second here. I'm checking some things out. Uh, Daniel Vargas, but on her record, she has a fairly high knockout percentage, particularly for a woman fighter. But however, most of her fights have been in her um, native country of the Dominican Republic. When you look at her record, kind of suspect. So you just don't know how good she is. Um, my gut tells me that Nicholson is a better fighter and could win, but Vargas could surprise here because of the unknown factor.
Yes, there's always a key factor when you fight in the unknown in that front because we've learned it again and again and again. Sometimes the unknown fighter is the most dangerous fighter, and the one that has the high accolades coming in may not come into it. We had that situation with Nashinga not too long ago, and I always remember because it's the guy that helped Bud become undisputed at 140. Nobody knew anything much about Julius Odongo before he popped onto the scene the way he did. And obviously, the most famous case is Manny Pacquiao. You never know what guys that come out of nowhere that sometimes don't have the most stellar, may not have the most stellar records. Like this opponent does have a decent record, But yeah, unfortunately, a lot when it comes to Latin American fighters, if you get a lot of knockouts in the native country, that's not always a good sign.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to end things on that note. If you're checking us out on YouTube, be it live or on replay, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you hit that subscribe button to help the overall algorithm. Um, Again, Gail unfortunately was not with us this evening. If you want to talk boxing with her, Gail from nyfights.com, you can do so on Twitter, IG, PR Pro San Diego. Let me repeat that, PR Pro San Diego. I'll go to you, Daniel. Daniel for Four Boxing News and the Inscriber for those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk pro wrestling, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially when it comes to your beloved Miami Heat. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
It's the same everywhere, folks. It doesn't matter if it's Twitter, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky. I think even on Spoutable at this point. Rox99, RWKZ99. Definitely catch me on there. Hopefully, get a lot of good fights coming up. And the way things are looking in all aspects of the world, it's fitting to be a hot summer, no matter what thing you cover.
Yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness with me, you know that it is on Twitter because I refuse to call it X. Brother JR at Brother JR76. For those who want to talk all things cologne and whatnot, you can do so. Um, IG, TikTok, Brother JRSC. On the next episode, we will have a recap of Roman Gonzalez, his return to Nicaragua fighting Robo Barrera, a recap of Alimkhanuly and Mikhailovich, a recap of Muratalla, Tevin Farmer, um, Skye Nicolson, Dyana Vargas, as well as Jaron Boost Ennis in his upcoming title defense against David Avanesyan, and a preview of give me a quick second here. Preview of what triple header world title fight card in Japan. Um, um, Riku Kanu fighting Oscar Alasquaga for the vacant WBO belt at 108 pounds. Jonathan Gonzalez gave up that title to move up to 112 pounds. Also, a preview of Kosei Tanaka making the first defense of the WBO 115-pound strap against Jonathan Rodriguez. Preview of Junto Nakatani versus Vincent Astrobalio. Nakatani, pay attention to him, folks. Pay attention to him. People like to talk about Bam Rodriguez. People talking about Bam Rodriguez in a way. No, 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 no. The fight for in a way, as far as I'm concerned, is a fight with Nakatani. Nakatani has said this week that in a way is on his radar. He's gunning for him. He just wants to do business first at 118 pounds. So Nakatani, Astrobalio, Tanaka, Rodriguez, Kanu versus Olasquaga, all going to be on. That's going to take place July 20th on ESPN Plus. Also on the 19th, Alexis Rocha, Santiago Dominguez. That's going to be July 19th in the Zone. Also on the 20th in Tampa, Amanda Serrano defends her belts against Stevie Morgan. No, no, I'm sorry. That's not a. She's not defending her belts. That's going to be a junior welterweight contest. As we all know, Serrano is signed to fight a rematch with Katie Taylor later on this year. Also on that card, the return of Shadasia Green. Last time we saw her, she lost the decision to Franchon Cruz Dezern. Green returns to fight Natasha Spencer. Again, that's going to be July 20th in Tampa, Florida on the Zone, and we'll preview those fights. So again, unfortunately, Gail was not with us this evening. Hope to have her back on next week. For Daniel from For Boxing News and the Inscriber, I'm your host, Michael. This has been episode 452 of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.